what's up guys, I'm Lighty, and this is Poison Arrow, and this is going to be a brief explanation and a Atziri demo, which is what this build is extremely good at, is doing Atziri. If you want to skip to the Atziri part, just click the link above my camera frame. Okay, so Poison Arrow is a skill that you shoot an arrow and it hits something and then it makes a cloud of poison. The tooltip DPS is from the hit of the arrow, but the actual DPS, this is the number under where it says increased area effect, 2,400. The 24,000-ish is the actual damage of the cloud. Now that damage is not including concentrate effect, that does not show on the tooltip. Also, does not show the increased damage over time from the Leo mod on the bow, and it also doesn't show when I give them vulnerability and they take 33% more damage over time. Now, that is how the build works. You walk around and you shoot a poison arrow in a cloud. You scale your damage through either mostly the level of the gem, which is why I use a +3 bow, as I am using right now. The Empower gem, which gives poison arrow more levels, and a 2120 poison arrow, which results in what I have is a level 28 poison arrow, which is as high as it goes. Another large way to scale it is recently it now scales off projectile damage, and it scales off of Pierce if you use a drill neck, because again it scales off projectile damage. So use the Pierce gem and it gives you a ton of projectile damage. Now briefly going over the tree, you grab projectile damage, life, jewel sockets, because jewels are very strong for poison arrow at the moment, because they have stuff like cast damage, increased damage, area damage, projectile damage, like this one has right here. So you get as much as you can. And we pretty much just picked up projectile damage. We picked up the final way of scaling our damage, which is frenzy charges. Now we use frenzy charges with the skill Frenzy. We keep it level 1 so the mana cost is low. We use Frenzy. We have it linked with Frenzy, Curse on Hit, Vulnerability, GMP. That's the main 4. All it is you do it so you apply the Curse Vulnerability on things and you gain Frenzy charges, which is now 4% more damage per charge, which again scales your poison arrow. So that is all good and well. We have 2 other links though. We have a second curse. Now we're not spec'd into Whispers of Doom, that's a year away on the tree. If you want, you can use the Ring Dodri's Damning, but probably best case scenario is get a necklace that has enemies can have 1 additional curse. Now we use Temporal Chains, which is good for a few reasons. That slows the cast and attack speed of the enemy, that's fine. The main thing is it slows their movement speed, which means that they're slower, which means they stay in the poison cloud longer, so they take more damage. That's basically how that works. We have 1 extra link. Now for the socket, you could either do something like Blind, which is what I enjoy because it makes you a little safer, or Culling Strike, effectively 10% more damage, also completely fine. Gives you faster attack speed also. The damage is irrelevant because your frenzy does no damage, but makes you apply it maybe a little quicker. Now for auras, we're using Haste and Clarity because none of the other auras scale our damage, so I'd rather move a little faster and I'd rather always have mana up. So Clarity is because we're running off of mana, so I like to have a high level possible. I'm using Enlighten to reduce the mana cost, and Flame Golem as another small way that gives me maybe 500, 600 DPS. I have another way to kind of sideways increase our DPS, which is Val Lightning Trap. Now shocked ground means they take double damage effectively, and this gives us 8 seconds of shocked ground normally, but we have increased duration so it lasts a little longer. We also have Blink Arrow and Faster Attacks for a movement speed skill. Alternatively, increased duration does affect Blink Arrow, and it does make our minion last longer. Really makes no difference whatsoever. We have 1 last socket setup, which is casting damage taken, Cold Snap, LA Prolif, increased AoE. All this does is that occasionally, if I get hit, which I don't often, because not only do I have some decent evasion, I have Phase Acro, Arrow Dancing, and Atziri Steps, which have an additional charge, which is probably the best case scenario. This makes it just so I occasionally freeze things and it proliferates the freeze in the ground. It's a nice little defensive thing, but not needed by any means. For flasks, we have Jade, bunch of Bleed, Smooth. I have a Cold Flask in case I get frozen. It's the one that I'm kind of scared of getting frozen. So that basically goes over what the build does and what it's about. If you feel a little scared, you can take out Haste, put in Grace. They both swap in and out very easily. And we're sitting at 4.1k life, not a whole lot, but I've picked up, kind of saved the life, and we still have the whole life pool to go through, And yeah, we can pick up that life, we can pick up the life there, pick up the life there. So that's basically the next couple points is just in life. But I am on softcore, so I have gone for the life route. Alright, so let's give Atziri a go. This build's great for Atziri because it is poison damage, it is a damage over time cloud, which means A, it's cast damage, so you can't be reflected. You could just shoot once and then run around and dodge things, which makes lots of the fights really safe. It's a good kiting build. There's just a couple things for Atziri that you should know about. Now, these are a couple different mob types in Atziri for those who don't know. One of them is a snake, which is not here. Now, the snake is the quicker mob that has chaos res. These also chaos res, but it's not a big deal. When you're fighting mobs that have snakes, a good thing to do is shoot at the door once. Creates a cloud at the door, so you can shoot one through, curse them, and just take a step back. And it will pretty much take care of most of the stuff for you. Now, this again, Atziri, I say it during all of my Atziri videos, it is a marathon, not a sprint, so take your time. See, they kind of come out the gate pretty fast, the snakes, so it's better to take your time with them. This is a build you can really just shoot a couple times and walk away, and just kind of take it slow. No reason to rush. For chest, we're using Karkashak, I didn't mention that earlier. Other good options are Lightning Coil, Hyries, Ire, the new version that gives you 10% double dodge. That way you get a little safer, but I like Karkashak because it makes the AoE larger, and that's one of the nicest parts of this build is its large AoE. Bam, look at that black gleam. Hashtag blessed. But this is a very safe build overall. With high resire and with perfect roll Atziri steps, you're looking at, what is that, 50% physical dodge and 56 spell dodge? Something absurd like that. Which is, if you could argue, it gives you effectively 8k life, you know, if you're dodging half the stuff. But trash for this build is very easy. You saw Cold Snap happen there. It didn't pro-lift because they have cold res, but it did pro-lift, but it didn't freeze them. It's a 30% chance to freeze, which isn't super high, not super low. Alright, so we're on the double valve fight now. I always bring a portal gem, and I kind of just, where is it, swap it out for Enlighten. This way it saves me having to use portal scrolls. Always put a portal up outside. Now for this fight, we don't really need to use our Val lightning traps. And this is actually kind of the trickiest fight for me, because it's hard to not kill them both easily. Now when you have less damage, it becomes easier to not kill them both, because when one dies, the other one enrages. And you want to kind of both kill them at the same time. So for that reason, we like to kind of take this fight slow. And this fight is always dangerous for ranged builds in general. So we pop one down, try to get our 6 charged before the second one comes up, and then we put one over there. And you'll see they die really, really quickly. And he's going to get killed probably, which is going to be a problem for us. Alright, so now this is an issue. We can pretty much dodge and run around fast, and we're good. But that can become a problem where we killed one too soon. So you really want to take your time with this and try to get them both up the same time. Your golem dies all the time. You could also link it to casting damage taken. That's an option to just not even have to deal with them. But you actually don't get hit very often, so it doesn't refresh as often as you'd like. Necro Vigil. For those who haven't played in a while, or for those who have only played recently, Bloodlines wasn't always in the game, and that was a interesting thing that made Atziri a little harder actually, because all the mobs in Atziri are magic mobs, you know, so now they all, not all, but a large percentage of them have Bloodlines mobs on them, one of which can be Void Spawn of a Boxoth, getting you beyond bosses, or really annoying, like fucking Necro Vigil. You'll just sit here like an asshole for an hour trying to fight the same 2 mobs. Fun, fun, fun. Alright, there we go. Moving on. Boop. Poison now is a very fun build in my mind. This is where there's a snake area, so we like to Put one at the door, maybe a couple here. That way when they come through and they charge, because they're the only ones who charge fast through the gate pretty much in this place. That way it at least takes care of them to a degree. Always make sure you're killing beyond mob. You can get corrupting blood like I just did and almost get caught with it. A ghost. Spooky. Spooky, spooky. Don't get cocky in here. I die even sometimes on normal. On Uber, especially so. There are lots of mobs out of Chaos Res in here, namely the ranged Vel and the snakes, but you pretty much work through it. Even Chaos Res isn't that high amount of Chaos Res. You can kind of walk through. Now we have no life leech because it's chaos damage, and it doesn't work like that. We don't need any, to be honest. We kind of just rely on our dodge and our evasion to get us through here. Alright, so we're back at another fight. We're going to do the same thing we did last time. Swap out, portal up. Bam. We make no gem swaps here. You can swap out Grace, although I still like to move fast. It's just what I prefer. I like having a move speed of 55. It's nice and quick. We'll keep on blind especially. So for this fight, we use the traditional kill order, which is the Titty Bitch, Dual Striker, Cycloner. Now there's a couple really cool things you could do, which I will demonstrate in live action. So for this fight, again, we could just drop a trap. We can walk out kind of far here. Trap out. Thing up. Hit and show lower of over, hopefully. Anyone go trigger it? No one triggers it. No one. Take the bait. We're going to try to kill her in the middle, but that might not be possible. Nope, she died over there. Bit of an issue. Alright, so for this... Oh, there we go. For this fight, you could kind of kite them around the poles and shoot behind the poles, and they'll sit on the poles longer than they normally would. Also, we can kind of kite them through the middle here and have him die kind of in the middle like he did right there. Makes it a little easier. Especially for the Cycloner, we can kind of bait him around these corners. It's going to look really funny. So we just kind of kite him around the corners, and it makes it a little easier for him to take damage because he's always on the move. So it can be tricky for him to actually take damage in this fight. But it's fairly easy, as you saw. Keep on the move, and you'll do it with much success. I wouldn't bother summoning your Flame Golem because that action takes so long, just the casting of it, that you might get killed in that little time frame. Take it nice and slow over here. Going up, going up. Pop of the door. I don't see the snakes, but let's just do it precautionary. Now you may be asking, why am I shooting through the packs instead of just shooting at the packs? Now, if you even noticed that, and the reason is that we are at a very, very high chance to pierce. Now, Poison Arrow has a really cool thing. When it pierces through things, it drops a poison cloud, not only at the target location, but at the location it pierced through. So if I shoot through him, it'll put a poison here and a poison here because it pierced through, which makes actually clearing a lot easier. Now, the poison clouds do not overlap, which would be insane liver power if they did, but it does help your clear speed, and it gives you large AoE. Also, lockbox is extremely nice. I call them lockboxes. They're strong boxes, really. That's how we roll, because you can just set up poison traps and walk around. Coming through. Over here. Again, we shoot through the mob packs because our pierce chance is so ridiculously high that odds are it's going to create a secondary cloud, or maybe a third cloud, maybe a fourth cloud. Try to keep our frenzy charges up, get our damage to the max. Now we're heading up to Atziri right now, which is the final boss in Apex Sacrifice. And one of the easiest parts of this fight, in my opinion. Really, Poison Arrow takes all aspects of this fight and makes them super trivial, which is what we want to do. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Poison Arrow, this seems really fucking overpowered. The issue with Poison Arrow... Why is this guy not dying? The issue with Poison Arrow is that it has a very low ceiling for damage. Now what I mean by that is, a low ceiling means that you hit the highest potential of damage fairly early. Now, for that level, you're doing insane amounts of DPS, yes. But I can really, realistically never get more DPS than I have right now. Now, I'm level 90, and I have maybe 100x sunk into gear. That sounds like a lot, but at this level, and this point I am now, I can never get more DPS. That's kind of a bummer. I could sacrifice some survivability to get more DPS, but realistically, I can't do more damage. My Flame Golem can level up, I can do a little more damage there. My Poison Arrow is pretty much to the max, all my gems are 2120. I'm not going to get any more projectile speed on the tree, projectile damage, pierce chance, none of that stuff. I'm getting straight life next. The only thing I could do is get better jewels, and even those won't add a tremendous amount of damage to me. So I am stuck at the point I am now. That is the main downside of Poison Arrow, is that I can't do more damage than I can at this moment. But my damage is plenty fine to get to 100 if that was my goal. So, we're at Atziri. Atziri has a couple aspects of the fight that are tricky for most builds, namely split phase reflect, the feeding phase, having enough DPS, and not getting killed by shit. So this build covers all that stuff. It can't take reflect damage. I can attack any of the clones and I can take no damage at all. Feeding phase, I just drop poison clouds everywhere, and I can walk around while I'm doing damage. That's what makes the fight easy. So let's just put a cloud down and we'll start walking. Now we're not going to curse her because she has curse reflect. If we wanted to, we could, but we really don't need to. It's literally just walking around, taking our time. The one thing she does that actually does damage is the spear. We're going to go for that back one. Doesn't even matter which one we go for. And we just walk around, take it nice and slow. Walk around, take a chance, drop the poison thing. And by the time we come back, and she's dead. Like I said, the one thing I got hit by was a spear, but we have a pretty high chance to actually dodge them because of arrow dancing and because of our just general dodge and evasion. So we can just sit here and put poison clouds on her if we really wanted to be like, you know, the super lazy mode, or we can actually go for like the groups. But either way, it takes care of them perfectly fine. You get, like I said, this is the most damage you can do right now, and I'm not cursing them per se, so that's one aspect of it that's true. I could curse them to do a little more damage, but we just walk around, doodle-doo-doo, and she's going to go to split phase in a second here. We get scared, blink arrow, make a clone. It'll stay up for a long time, a couple seconds. Again, we're going to go for the back one just because we want to. No real reason. Walk around. We're so fast we shouldn't be hit by a spear. We should be able to manually dodge most everything. Blink arrow out if we want to. Have a second. Drop a poison cloud on our main target, which could be any of them, just all in a whim. That's right, I said whim. And this is the one thing that might hurt us. The barrage also hurts, but again, we're so fast we can pretty much move out of any of this stuff. Her scariest thing she does would be the barrage of spears, but even that's pretty easy. We'll drop a lightning trap for this one. Just because. Let's kill her just twice as fast. And there she goes. Oh, nope, she's still alive. And now she's not. Boop. That should take care of it. Our final Val lightning trap. There's the barrage. Oh, she went into feeding phase. We use the Jade Flask just to get us past 50% evasion, which is a nice number. Again, it makes the arrow part even easier to dodge. The javelins that do the damage, that do so much damage to us. If we wanted to get more damage, we can always take out our curses and just use Frenzy to actually gain Frenzy charges, but I don't need them. You might, but even really you shouldn't. It takes me 2 hours to clear, 2 arrows to clear each phase. It'll take you maybe 3 or 4. Again, super easy to do. I could literally do this for an hour and really pretty much be fine. But that's how the fight works. So that about wraps up Poison Arrow as far as Atziri and the basics of it. Any questions or comments or concerns, message me on YouTube or the build page.